Hi there and welcome to Plant CEO. In today's episode, I'd like to welcome Zimri T Hinshaw from Rheom Materials. Hey Zimri, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me, Anant. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's great to have you on the show.
Great to be here.
It'd be great to learn about your company on the materials side and what sort of innovations that you've been working on. But let's start with just your introduction and a bit more background on why you ended up creating the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Japan, partly. My family is an Air Force family. I actually attended Japanese high school. And I attended a Japanese high school, and some of the kids were a little bit what they called Yankee, which you would typically associate with Yankee American, but it actually means in Japanese it translates to like bad boy. And they would ride up to they would ride up to school on these motorcycles or these bikes, and they would be wearing these really cool leather jackets with these Japanese tattoo like designs on the back. And I was
Amazing.
really inspired by this at the time.
Yeah.
When I came back to the United States and wanted to starting companies, I thought, I want to be a fashion designer. I want to create these jackets for an American audience. I think Americans are really going to dig this because it's so unique. But I've been plant-based for, I think at this point now, the majority of my life. And so I said, I don't want to use animal leather. It's not part of my values. I don't want to use plastic leather. There's got to be something else I can make these jackets out of that will actually kind of resonate with what I believe in and the trend that I saw among my peers. And so that's how I got the idea to start looking for alternatives to leather, alternatives to plastic that were plant-based. I realized that they didn't exist and got in the business of creating them.
Yeah, just going back, tell me
Yeah.
about the sort of designs they had on those jackets. I mean, were they the traditional sort of Japanese, dragons or, samurais or what sort of designs, or was it more intricate than that?
Some of these jackets were made out of leather. Some of them were made out of silk, and they would be silk jackets. Sometimes it'd be a combination of both materials.
But silk biker jackets?
Yeah, silk biker jacket.
Yeah,
They
I
were like
can't...
bomber. Like they were like
Oh,
like
bomber
they
jackets,
either
right.
had leather biker jackets with these
Right.
designs in the back, or they would wear silk bomber jackets on these
Right.
motorcycles. It was one of
Yeah.
the two. The
Yeah.
designs on the motorcycle jackets were your classic Japanese tattoo designs. You'd have the Eastern style dragon with the long whiskers. You'd have mountains. On the silk designs, you would have geisha, which are the Japanese entertainment ladies with the white faces and their red lips, like geisha. Where you would have samurai, the soldiers. You would have Mount Fuji was a constant theme. You'd have mountains in the background, and usually in a circular design. So I just thought these icons of Japan were really unique and really cool, and I thought Americans could get behind them as well. So
Yeah. So you ended up then creating an alternative to leather, predominantly materials company, with
yeah,
that in mind. And are you making, or have you worked with any partners that actually make these jackets now as well, these biker jackets or bomber jackets?
we did for
Right.
it only took 5 years, but we finally got around to it. We partnered with Wuxley, which is a Canadian outerwear brand that has a
Okay, great.
sustainability focus, and they're a
Brilliant.
fantastic brand. And as part of their bad collection with Bryan Adams, which is a Canadian rock star,
Yeah.
they did end up doing a motorcycle moto jacket made out of Shorai, our leather alternative. You can kind of see
Yeah.
made out of this material.
Yeah.
And it came out beautifully. They did it in an extra large size, so unfortunately, you can't tell from the camera, but I'm not an extra large human, so I didn't end up getting to wear one. But Bryan Adams did. They sold out almost immediately, and there are extra large Canadians out there in the world wearing our jackets and having a
Very
great
cool.
time. And so it's come full circle, you know what I mean?
That's awesome. And your background's from Indie Bio, which I know because a friend and past guest Ryan Bethencourt was
Ah,
part of Indie Bio, and I think he was running it even at some stage. And kind of Wild Earth, the dog food company,
yep.
was out of that, came out from that, I guess, as well with what he's been doing. Um,
Yes.
so is a lot of the work that you're doing with the material side based on, looking at the cells? Is that what you've been doing in terms of the structure of the materials? Or just tell me a little bit about how it's made. Because I
Yeah.
think you've got a bunch of PhDs working with you on the material side, right, of the actual product.
Yes, luckily I am no longer, even though my name was on the original patent, everyone is better off that we have much smarter PhDs than I'll ever be working on the material science, on the polymer chemistry, the engineering and process alignment, the rheology of these materials. So we've got PhDs in all of those fields who work on
Okay.
this material. We're going to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like the technology has changed, right? The realization that you're trying to service brands' needs, and the biggest brand need right now in our industry is needing scalable materials that are in form factors that brands understand at a price point they can afford. Like that has held back our industry for too long. And so we knew going into this that we had to start with a process that had already been established and work backwards from that. So coming to Texas, coming to Houston, we knew that to be the case. And the process that we wanted was plastic extrusion. So there's a reason that plastic is so ubiquitous today. And it's because the manufacturing for it is incredibly efficient. And so we took those same machines and reverse engineered or reversed designed materials that could fit in, which are thermoplastic, bioplastic materials. And so, what are those? You start with either sugarcane or corn. A bacteria processes it, eats it, metabolizes it, and out comes a biopolymer that makes up the basis of Shorai, our leather alternative, or Benree, our hard plastic alternative. And then we combine it with a lot of other plant based ingredients, things derived from different plant oils. And then if we want to put, pigments derived from algae, pigments derived from rust iron oxide. So we're combining all of these ingredients together to form the properties that these brands are asking for. And then they go to a compounder in North Carolina. They're all mixed together into pellets, which look like this. You can kind of see just very, boring. Looks like any other plastic pellet you can see in there. And then sent to Massachusetts, where it's extruded into a sheet like this. A cotton backing is added. It's melt adhered to the our material, and then a thin coating is added.
And the coating
And
is plastic coating? Like most people still put plastic coating on top, I guess, when it comes to. So you
right,
have a small amount of plastic just as the coating element.
a small amount of plastic
Yeah.
as the coating. I believe we're using a semi-bio based coating. That's the intention. That Shorai today is about 93% bio based content.
Yeah.
Uh, it,
Have you ever been asked if you could make the material flame resistant? The reason I'm asking is that I heard only the other day that the way that people used to test if it was real leather versus, the plasticky alternative PU leathers was to take a flame to it, and if it burnt, then it will be the plastic version, and if it didn't burn, it will be the actual leather. So I don't know, have you ever been asked to create, or is it fire retardant, for example?
yeah, that's a great question. So it will it won't burn. I mean, it's melted in a plastic extruder at pretty high temperatures,
Yeah.
so it will melt, but way before it will burn.
Yeah, right, okay. Right,
You'd
I got
have
it,
to get
yeah.
it pretty hot to burn it. Of
Yeah,
course, you
yeah.
can burn cotton, so the cotton backing you could
That's right.
set a flame, you could burn.
Yeah.
But generally the cotton backing is not the surface that you're going to be exposed to,
Exactly.
right? So
Right.
if it's in the car, it's in the seat. So if you take
Right.
a flame to the interior of your car, for whatever reason, I hope no one's actually doing that.
I hope not. Don't try that at home.
That
Yeah,
would
for sure.
depreciate the value of your car very
Yeah,
quickly.
dramatically. Yeah.
It would melt before it would burn, and I wouldn't cause like your entire vehicle wouldn't just suddenly set aflame. Like the interior wouldn't be like a forest fire inside of your car. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And tell me about who's using your materials now. What sort of sectors, and if there's any sort of brands. You've already mentioned the Canadian leather jacket alternative. I'll have to check them out. Like you, I'm not as big as an XL. I'm more like a medium. So I'll have to see if there's other companies where I can find. And we should basically send one to the CEO of Nvidia. He likes his Tom Ford.
I know.
He should rock a vegan, plant-based alternative jacket.
It seems in line. Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems in line with his values. I would love to for him to wear one on stage. I think that would be a hell of a statement.
We need more people to make statements like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've got some other brands that we're working with. A lot of them we're under NDA with, right? I'm
Sure.
sure you get this a lot.
Yeah.
But a few aren't. A few are not under NDA. One that I can mention that's not under NDA that we have like a more public relationship with
Yeah.
um, is Lucky Nelly Berlin, making
Oh, nice.
these ultra luxury, very bespoke handbags. We love working with Lucky Nelly. They make beautiful designs. We recently auctioned off the Black Orchid bag, which sold for 1,500 and something dollars,
Nice.
which we donated to Central Texas Flood Relief. It was part of an auction for charity, bio-based materials for a good cause. But you can find designer bags made out of our Shorai materials like this one from Lucky Nelly on Lucky Nelly Berlin. We're very
Great.
popular in Germany. We're very
In
popular
Germany.
specifically in
Brilliant.
Berlin. We get
Well,
on German television quite frequently, and Christine from Lucky Nelly, who's a great partner of ours, she then sends us the translation of the transcript of what the interview took place back to English for us,
awesome.
which is
I think it helps with Berlin in general. A lot of cool people there, plus high number of vegans as well, and a lot of choices.
I loved that about Germany.
I've worked in Berlin as well,
Yeah.
so it's a very cool city.
It's a super cool city. In Germany, like I think Berlin is probably my favorite city to be in. And there are tons of vegan options, lots of vegan people, and you see it all the way. Like I was at the KFC and they were like, you can have plant like half of our items are plant based, and I was like, no way, like that's crazy.
Wow,
Like
it's
and
really cool. Yeah,
it's super cool because here,
I think they're probably selling the Beyond Meat products, the nuggets, perhaps
yeah.
at KFC.
So I'm not surprised that our materials would be pop in
Nice.
Berlin and getting picked up by a lot of German brands. We also work a lot with automotive, and I can't disclose names, but we work with a lot of automotive makers, both the brands themselves and their OEM tier one
Fantastic.
suppliers. So,
Great.
automotive is definitely a place where we're looking for Shorai applications.
Great. And so tell me about how you're creating the material. And is it basically that you are using a co-manufacturer? Have you got your own plant? Just thinking about scaling, especially for auto brands who need reels and reels of the stuff. If they're covering the whole seat, that is, then yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely need one bigger pieces than smaller chunks.
That's absolutely correct. They need it in a form factor that they can really get behind. And that's usually, we're talking 60-inch panels by hundreds of yards long, right? And that's the form factor that you'd need for an automotive application.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we've absolutely done that. We do that.
Great.
We did that a few weeks ago. We're going to do that again in January, where
Brilliant.
we've outsourced pretty much everything you can outsource. Right?
Okay.
You, we're not creating any of the raw materials themselves. We're not in the business of fermentation. we're also not in the business of manufacturing and compounding and extrusion, right? So we are creating the chemistries. We own the brands of Shorai, the leather alternative, and Benree, the hard plastic alternative. And then Shorai's got a lot of other applications it can be used for. It can be double the thickness. It can be mixed with other materials to make it like better for phone cases. There's lots of different applications, but those
Yeah.
brands are important, right?
Yeah.
And we own those brands. We own the chemistries and the patents behind those brands. We're one of the first people to actually scale at this level where we're doing 2,000 more yards. We have the capacity for, I think it's something like 1,640 metric tons per year of volume through our supply chain with our partners and what they've guaranteed to give us. If you want to put that in perspective, that's for us hundreds of millions of dollars worth of revenue.
And you've got that as committed already?
Well, certainly those are the volumes that they would love us to be
Yeah.
manufacturing at, because
Right.
that would also be,
Right.
hundreds of millions of dollars worth of revenue for our manufacturing partners. But those are the volumes that they've said that they will guarantee us if we can find demand for these applications. And so,
Yeah.
we're going after massive, massive markets. The leather market, $0.5 trillion globally. We're looking at, I mean, in total for the plastic alternatives and all of these different markets, I think it's something absolutely massive. Blue ocean,
Yeah.
blue sky, $5.5 trillion to replace plastic and leather and animal products across the supply
Yeah.
chains for the materials that we're pursuing.
And I guess evolution, other than sort of car manufacturers and fashion, as in
Yep.
fashion brands, would also be the sneaker, or as we call it here, trainer companies, sports companies. A massive opportunity as well. What are some of the things or requirements that they're looking for? And have you worked with any of these companies, and what do people have available? Like for me as a vegan, like what sort of brands should I be looking at now? And what are the ones that we should keep an eye on?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are pretty stringent requirements for footwear, right? Because this is something that you wear every day. This is something that flexes 1,000 times, and there's actually a specific kind of test that we like to
Okay.
that simulates the toe box on a shoe.
Right.
And I'm gonna do something kind of crazy. I'm gonna kick
Yeah,
off
yeah.
my own shoe, and I'll
Very
show
cool.
you the test.
Yeah.
So here.
So is this one of your materials then, or
No,
is
it's
this?
not.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know
Just,
what? Actually, I will use actually one of our materials.
well,
Right,
you can do both.
I'll do both. I'll do both.
Yeah.
We'll,
Yeah, yeah.
we'll get freaky with it.
Yeah.
This is a baby shoe made out of Shorai that's been screen printed on top of. And the test basically is, and it's hard to show on this,
Yeah.
but it's basically you flex the toe box of the
Right.
shoe 100 times, because every time you step and walk, you're basically
Right.
doing this motion. It's
Yeah.
probably easier to see on a larger shoe. This is the shoe that I'm wearing right now, which is not made out of our materials. This is like an Adidas Stan Smith, and you can see that crumpling motion, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
test to get to that is called a bally flex test, and it basically simulates that flexing
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of times, which is what we interact with on a daily basis. And so that's a big one to pass. Of course, there's abrasion testing, there's tensile strength. There's a lot of requirements for brands to be able to use these. Off the top of my head, a few brands that are looking for sustainable materials in their footwear designs. Drink Kicks comes to mind. It's more of a Houston brand. Fengte Group is looking for these kinds of applications for footwear. It's not so mainstream yet, I would say, for footwear, right? I think Stella McCartney and at one point Adidas was more interested in leather alternatives for footwear, and hopefully will be again. But I think Stella's definitely done some footwear with sustainable materials. Another one to look out for is Baird Footwear in the future. They're looking at sustainable parts of their shoes, and not only are these brands looking for leather alternatives, but sometimes they're looking for the hard plastic alternative. And I'll kind of bring. But you could make something like the hard plastic. You could make like a high heel wedge. You can make the bottom of a high heel or a
Nice.
wedge out of Benree, for example.
So let's talk about that product now as well. What are the use cases so far that you've had success using that harder plastic, all made from plants, right?
Yeah, that one's 100% bio-based today.
Right. Okay, great.
We found success again in fashion applications where kind of
Okay.
where and automotive. So where people are using Shorai, the leather alternative, they're also looking to use Benree. So, if they're using Shorai for leather upholstery for their car, they're thinking about Benree for the interior paneling. We work also, with an injection molded furniture. So, can you make an entire chair out of Benree? And then on the other side for fashion, again, can you make a keychain ring in a certain colorway with Benree?
Have you thought about, these 3D printing companies
I
that
have,
have the
yeah.
materials and approaching them and replacing the plastic? I think they're kind of like, very thin pieces
Right.
that sort of melts and can then start building up the product.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm
Oh,
really
right.
glad
Okay.
I
Okay.
have something.
Oh,
I
wow.
got
Okay.
something.
So
I've got right here in my hands.
that's
This is
awesome.
a spool of Benree 3D printing filament.
Oh, great. Okay.
So this is 100% bio-based. You can see in here the filament inside of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So you
Yeah.
could make anything from that. We've decided to make a tiny boat.
Oh, lovely. You just need Minnie Mouse on there and
Yeah,
Mickey.
and we're Steamboat Willie and we're ready to go.
Exactly.
We're trying not to get copyright infringed on the
Yeah.
podcast. Steamboat Willie now in the public domain, riding on the
Yeah.
boat.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's great. I'm glad you're going after that market as well because even like schools have that in. People who just want to create their own products and experiment with these 3D designs. So yeah, it's definitely what people are looking for, and to have a sustainable option instead of using traditional plastic is fantastic.
No, we love to work. We've had a lot of folks order and buy our 3D printing filaments made with Benree for use in their designs. It works best if you're using like we also make the base plate for like what you print off of because Benree typically sticks to Benree the best. And
Oh,
so the
okay.
base, if you use a base plate made of Benree and then 3D print on
Right.
Benree on top of
Oh,
that,
right.
your designs
Got
will be
it.
more structurally sound.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. That's very
Yeah.
nice. And what's been like the market response to all your products? Looks like you're innovating really well and capturing different opportunities at the moment.
No, I think the market response has been really, really positive for Shorai, especially. It's been all inbound sales. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of brands that have reached out to us through our social. I think it's all about telling a great story
Yeah.
and being out there and telling a unique story and showcasing that you've got the technical expertise, that you're a trustworthy brand, that you're an exciting brand to be working with, that you have something unique to say, that you're a thought leader in your space. And when you're doing all of that and that storytelling, brands will come to you and say, yeah, this is a brand that I want to work with. This seems like they have the expertise or the unique perspective that will make a difference for our end consumer and really move the needle. And so most of these brands, if not all of them, well, I say the vast majority have been totally inbound. We've gotten through our website. Some of our biggest automotive customers came to us through Instagram. When we were collaborating
Y-
with other startups and algae-based
Yeah.
designs, and they said, "Wow, this is really cool," and they found us through Instagram or LinkedIn and reached out to us and have wanted to work with us. And whenever we get enough brands sort of in the same space, if whether it's apparel or handbags or small leather goods or automotive, we say, okay, now it's worth it to really like put resources in and develop this for this group of customers that already seems to be wanting this solution and willing to share their problem sets and their specifications with us.
Yeah. And tell me about this last campaign that you did in Houston.
Yeah, that was really cool. I've always been like super a proponent for being very authentic to where the company is, where is your talent, what's happening in the local environment. So our first commercial was when we were back in New York City, and we filmed a commercial with a top in Soho. It was like very high fashion, very on trend. We had the model walking down Soho with all these fancy houses, or these fancy, like, that was very in the moment. Then we had a campaign in London with sneakers and playing basketball and showcasing that. When we came to Texas and the company started developing a very Texas identity, we wanted to be true to where we were and now where the majority of our team was. And so we thought the best way to showcase the uniqueness of a biomaterials company in Texas was to showcase our materials at the Houston Rodeo, which is the largest rodeo in the world. Like, there is no bigger rodeo than the Houston Rodeo and Livestock Show. And so what aspects of that could we highlight? We did, and I got behind me, and I'll bring it out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did a corset, a top, we did a skirt, and we did also a jacket, which I don't have with me, but in the other room here.
I got somebody else you can send something to. How about Beyonce with her latest album?
We're very aligned with Beyonce, We're
Very
Texas
good.
for Houston. She's a
Exactly.
Houston native. We've got the skirt. But what we did was we showcased a model doing everything at the Houston Rodeo that you could imagine, from playing carnival games to two-stepping, dancing with cowboys at the wine garden. It was a quick minute clip, but the point behind it was you don't have to change your life to wear biomaterials, to wear next to materials.
Exactly.
Yes, we're plant-based. Yes, we're working with plant materials. But let's be honest, the majority of people aren't. In Texas, most people don't. Most people eat meat. But they don't have to. You don't have to convert all the way to veganism to use our materials. Maybe you want to wear a felt hat or a leather jacket, but maybe you want to wear a Shorai skirt. You can just start introducing these things into your wardrobe little by little. If it can work at the Houston Rodeo, it can work anywhere. And no one even batted an eye at the Houston Rodeo. Everyone said, "Great, looks super Western, looks super cowgirl. Like, it's amazing."
Very cool.
You don't change your impact, not your life, was the slogan of that campaign.
Yeah. And something you said to us, said to me earlier, just before we started recording, was that your team actually comes up with the company name, and that's your technical team, and you come up with the names for the brand. So tell me about that, and let's start with the name of the company.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So any good leader, when you're looking at, it's a compromise, right? Everything's a compromise. For the technical team, it was very important that the name of the company reflected the technical expertise that the company had. And so they decided to combine the words rheology, which is the study of how polymers flow, as well as form, which is the form that they take. So it was the combination of how they flow to the final form that they take. Rheology form becomes Rheom. That's the company name. So that the technical team, they championed that name, and that was easy. On my side, because of the Japanese origin of the company, being wanting to create these motorcycle jackets, growing up in Japan, it felt appropriate for our materials to have Japanese-inspired names. And so Shorai is inspired by the Japanese word for future, which is Shorai. And Benree, the hard plastic alternative today, that is inspired by the Japanese word bendi, which means utility.
Oh, it means utility. Okay. Very cool. And just going back to, I'm just thinking about motorcycles. Going back to, I don't know if you're a fan of motorcycles or not.
I am.
Apart from the jackets.
I am a
Do
fan
you
of
ri-
motorcycles. I
do
don't
you,
ride one. My mother would kill me.
same here, but I'm quite into. So I did do like the test and stuff, but for me, it's not just my mother; it's my wife that will also kill me if I do
Yeah,
one.
a lot of women
But
in my life would be very upset.
yeah, they'll be very very upset. But I think I've been looking at these electric motorcycles, and
Yeah,
if you think about the reason that they've been created is that they want to be more sustainable and not use gas stroke petrol, right, as
yeah,
a fuel source.
yeah,
But also, if they're looking at sustainability, they should be looking at the seats
totally.
and everything else as part of the bike. If they have
Yes.
accessories, etc. Right? Have you spoken to any of these bike companies? And there's a very cool one in New York you should speak to called
I
Tarform.
know exactly. Yes, it's
Yeah, I
Tarform,
don't
and
know if
you
you.
bet you we've spoken to them. Yes, we've
Oh, you
talked to
have.
them.
Awesome.
They were actually in our journey. They were one of the first companies we talked to because the company was originally in Philadelphia, went up to New. It was
Oh,
kind
were
of
they?
splitting. We were splitting our
I didn't
time
know
between
that.
Philadelphia and New York, and so we made the drive to New York to visit Tarform and talk about the requirements. That was our first foray into vehicles and
Brilliant.
understanding the requirements of vehicles. And motorcycles have an even higher requirement
Do they?
than yes, because if you're driving a BMW, say the interior is still going to be, it could get wet. You could throw your wet blanket or your wet jacket back there or whatever, right? It could be
Yeah.
raining and it gets down, but generally it's not going to be sitting in the rain unless you
Yeah.
leave
It's
your
not going to be
sunroof.
outdoors. Yeah, I
It's
didn't
not
think about that.
outdoors.
Yeah. Right.
Motorcycles have to, the seats have to withstand like marine vinyl grade conditions where you've got rain, you've
Okay.
got constant like, and so that becomes a really hard requirement for materials like ours to be able to hit on a consistent basis.
Right.
Again, in a BMW, the only way our materials, they should last as long as your car will last in ambient conditions or in as long as they dry back out eventually, right? Um, the only time our materials would biodegrade in a BMW vehicle, just as an example, is if you drove that BMW into the ocean. And at that point, I don't know. I think you've got bigger problems to worry about than than the biodegradation of your seats.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you should ask them to create an amphibious vehicle that will solve that problem for you.
Could be right. I've seen those cars. Like remember did you ever get those like science magazines where they give you like the products of the future and they've got like their robot maids and they've got anyway in those
Well,
magazines that I used
yeah,
to get as a
okay.
kid. There was one of
Yeah,
them that was like a car that was also a plane that was also like a submarine
right.
and like you could drive it into a lake and for the
Yeah,
small price of like a
I
hundred
mean,
thousand dollars.
I mean, for me, it was more of the films that I used to watch, like
Yeah.
the James Bond films where you'd have the Lotus being a underwater car.
I get you. They asked when I was in SOSV Indie Bio, we were doing a headshot. We were also gearing up for a commercial, and they asked me, who is your style inspiration? And I said, Daniel Craig from James Bond.
Very cool. Yeah,
Never good. If you want, just as a style tip for
yeah,
anyone listening, definitely choose bio-based materials where you can. Choose materials today that are already pretty sustainable. Choose cotton, choose linen. These are both good materials to choose. James Bond, like if you live in warm climates like I do, and in London, which is becoming more temperate every year, I saw a lot of palm trees, and I was London. I was astonished. Watch the James Bond movies. Anything Daniel Craig wears never goes out of style.
yeah, for sure. Lastly, like, are
Yeah.
you working on any other product ranges? So you've got you've obviously got the hard plastic, you've got
Yeah.
the leather material. What's next for you?
We're looking at kind of two different iterations. One is Shorai has been so successful. This has really hit a market and hit a nerve with consumers and brands, and there's been a ton of interest in this. And so, what are some other things that we can do analogous or similar to Shorai? Maybe double the thickness and cut with a few other plant-based materials or semi-bio-based materials to hit things like phone cases or foams. Like, what are the other ways we can iterate from Shorai to create new products? And then The other side of it is, if we're going to continue expanding the general breadth of our materials, melt spun biofibers is also a material that we're really, really interested in pursuing. So, those knits and those weaves, like that's a very interesting textile platform that I think a lot of our team is very excited about. We will see what makes the most sense for our technology. It needs to be $100 million market with a 45 to 50% profit margin, right? For us to really want to pursue it. We're taking the same kind of operating philosophy as a company like Rogers would when we're looking at markets to pursue. So it's got to meet those specifications, and it's got to be something that is within our wheelhouse. But I can see iterations that are variations of Shorai coming up next. I could see biofibers as something we're really interested in as a company. When you invest in Rheom Materials or when you purchase our materials, you're not just supporting the innovation of one leather alternative. You're looking at the future of biomaterials more generally, that are scalable, that are high quality performance wise and can compete with what's out there already. So
Great.
It's a platform, That's the magic word. It's a platform.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always a platform, right?
Always a platform, indeed. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And best of luck with the current fundraising you're doing at the moment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a round open. We're raising some capital. We have a lead investor for that. So again, if you're interested in participating, reach out, and we'd love to get you in and be part of the future of sustainable materials.
Fantastic, and good luck with the raise, and I hope you get all the funding you need to make it happen for all the other products that you got lined up as well.
Yeah, we're really excited and we're confident we'll get the support we need.
Great, awesome, and speak to you again soon.
All right, talk soon. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.